Mandarin Chinese is a language just like any other. If you want to speak it, if you want to learn to speak Mandarin Chinese, it just takes interest. You have to be interested in something to do it. You have to be interested in the language to be able to speak it. If you're not interested in it, you won't learn it. So it takes interest and determination to learn a language. If you don't have the interest in it, you can't learn it. I have tried learning some other languages before, such as French, Dutch, which is Netherlands, and I didn't have much interest in them. I was actually learning those languages because it was necessary, for necessity. But I got far in my Netherlands because I had some kind of interest in it. But in French, I even took French classes for a very long time, but didn't work out at all. I could understand a few words in French. I could have basic conversations in French, but it's not as good as it's supposed to be based on the classes that I took. But with Mandarin Chinese, I had interest, and I've always loved a lot of things about China, the culture, right from when I was a kid. So I didn't have to force too much, even though, yeah, I had to put some effort, some determination to get to learn it. But it took me like a few hours to master the words, the numbers from 1 to 100 in Chinese. A few hours, because of the high interest I had in it. So to learn any language, you have to be interested in it. You have to have very high interest in it. The more interested you are in the language, or the people that speak the language, or the culture, the easier it's going to be for you to learn that particular language. So with me, in Mandarin, it was much easier. I would tell you how I learned Mandarin, how I started. I actually started learning some words before I ever stepped my foot in China for the first time. So any language you want to learn, you have to have interest in the language or the people that speak the language. I'm here to get my car cleaned up here at the car wash, so I was waiting in line to get to my turn to wash the car. I hope it will not be too noisy. It's one of those self car wash. Shodong. So it's gonna be very noisy because the machine is starting to wash the car. So anyway, if you are interested in any language, to efficiently learn the language, you gotta have something that, you know, gives you some kind of passion about the language, maybe the people, maybe the culture, maybe the food, maybe something else about the language that is gonna give you some kind of insight. That's so noisy. Just watch the car. Okay, it's less noisy now. It's gonna come back again. So anyway, if you want to learn any language, you have to have deep interest in this language. You have to have something that makes you interested to learn this language, something that pushes you, gives you the passion, maybe the people. For example, I like Spanish. I love Spanish language. I would love to. I know a few words in Spanish. I can understand a few words when people are having conversation in Spanish. I could make out what they are saying, but I have never really dedicated the time to learn the Spanish language. 1 second again. It's drying off the car. 1 second. I'm so sorry. It's a noise. Let's say, for example, you want to learn Chinese, because I know a lot of foreigners that I've spoken to are interested to learn Chinese, but they find it very difficult. First thing you got to know is you must have interest. You must have interest. To learn any language, you must have interest. If you don't have interest, if there's nothing interesting you about the language, maybe the people, maybe the whatever, it's going to be difficult for you to learn the language. First of all, make sure that there's something about the language that makes you want to learn it, that gives you the, hold on 1 second. Hayashi, Meshiha, Hayashi, yes. My learning Mandarin is because I've always been fascinated about the Chinese culture, Chinese food, Chinese people, the landscape of China, but most importantly, the culture and the tradition. It's been like from as long as I can't even remember, from when I was a kid. So it always fascinated me, from watching karate movies and you know, the old style. I fell in love with China from the old style China, the old, you know, those traditional buildings and all that. 1 second, here it comes again. So, in this car wash, they don't use soap. This particular car wash, some other one, they use soap. But this one is free wash, so of course, free, you know, free things how they are. So this one is just they use the machine, rinse it out with water, and that's it. So the first time it didn't wash well, so I went around and came back to wash it again. Anyway, what I was saying, I was so interested in China, Chinese culture, traditions and all that way, let's say like 30, 40 years before I even stepped foot in China. No, but over 20 years before I stepped foot in China. So, 1 second again. I'm so sorry, this video today is kind of messed up. It's too much noise. So I guess this second wash will give it a cleaner look. So if you want to learn any language, it doesn't even matter if it's Mandarin Chinese or Spanish, German, Dutch, French, Portuguese, you know, whatever language you want to learn. First, you need to have something that fascinates you about the language. Something. As I was saying, Spanish, a lot of things in Spanish sound so sweet to me. People say French is a very romantic language, or the most romantic language. I don't think so. I think Spanish is the most romantic language in the world. Spanish and Portuguese. Yeah. Somehow also like Italian. But I believe, okay, I gotta stay here to finish up this video before I get to the public road, because I don't want to be talking while I'm driving. Anyway, I suggest that if you want to learn any language, if you want to learn Chinese, even before you came to China, like I said before I even stepped foot in China, I already learned a few words in Chinese way before I even came to China. So if you want to learn Chinese, or if you want to learn any language, you can start in this time and age. It's way much easier to learn anything, especially language, on the internet more than it was like 10, 15, 20 years ago. If you want to learn any language, you don't have to be in that country to learn it. You don't have to be with the local native speakers. You can learn it on the internet. I always had the hunger to learn Chinese. I always had this hunger. Back in those days, there was no, you either buy a book, which was almost like not even possible to buy a book to learn Chinese. But one day that was before the internet was a big thing. So when the internet started, like getting so, being a part of our everyday life, I was flying to Amsterdam, and I met a girl at the airport who were waiting for the same flight. We were waiting to board the same flight, and I asked her where she was going. She was from Dominica. It's an English island in the Caribbean. And I asked her where she was going. She told me she was heading to Beijing for studies. I was like, really? Studies? You? Beijing studies? How come? I think these were the first set of people that started coming to China to study. At this point, I think I already had a Chinese visa. I think so. I believe I already had a Chinese visa to come to China, but just kept preparing. I asked her how are you going to manage if you go to China? Because that time I didn't believe a lot of people in China could speak English. So I asked her, how could you manage in China without speaking Chinese? She said, I could speak Chinese. I was like, what? She said, yeah, I can. I said, really? She said, yeah. I said, have you been to China before? She said, no, it's my first time. How did you learn Chinese? She said, books, internet. And then I also made some friends on the internet in China who I can communicate with, And then I was like, wow, okay, so that is doable. Huh? Okay, so we had a very nice conversation, exchanged emails. When we got to Amsterdam, and then we said goodbye, she headed to Beijing. I kind of envied her because I always dreamed about coming to China. This is probably like over 15, 16 years now. So I always dreamed about coming. I was like, wow, I wish I was you. So there she goes. And from then on, I decided, okay, I don't have to be in China to learn Chinese. I could start practicing, just like this girl said. So I kept in contact with her. We kept communicating by email and by Skype. And then I started learning basic Chinese from there. So if you want to learn any language, you don't have to go to the country that speak the language to start learning it. The internet has made everything way easy. If you want to do anything, you want to learn anything, first thing, if you want to learn anything at all, first thing is the interest. You have to have high interest in it, especially language. If you want to learn any particular language, let's say you don't like a particular language. What language would I use? You don't want to, let me use Chinese. I'm in China, so let me use Chinese. Let's say you don't like China, or you don't like Chinese people, or you don't like Chinese, but you want to learn Chinese for some reason, for whatever reason, for studies, for work, for whatever, but you don't like Chinese, or you don't like China, or it's going to be difficult for you. It's going to be difficult for you. I have tried learning some languages that I'm not really too interested in. I didn't succeed. I could understand basic conversations. I could hear when people are talking in that language. I could follow certain words, but to speak the language and be fluent and have conversations in that language, I didn't get to that level because I wasn't too interested in that language. So if you want to learn any language, first thing, I've seen some foreigners who, I know some foreigners who they have been in China for like over 20 years, 25 years. And when they go somewhere to do some kind of business or something, and they call me up, could you tell this lady what I want, or could you tell this boss what I need, or could you explain this to this person? And I'm like, wow, you've been living in China like over 5, 6, 7 years before I arrived here. You should learn this. No, I don't just, I'm not interested in this language, it's not my language. I'm not, but you lived here for over 10, 15 years doing business here, but you are thinking that it's not your language, and you still call somebody up to translate for you. You're not even trying. You have already made up your mind that I don't like these people, I don't like their character, I don't like their attitude, I don't like this or that, but you are there, you are here, you are eating their food, drinking their water, doing business here. Why don't you make it easier for yourself? Why don't you make it easier? Find a way to like them, like it. Learn the language. Otherwise, it's going to always be difficult for you. I'm not saying my Chinese is perfect now, but because of the love that I have for the country, the people, the culture, the food that got me, can't get my six-pack back. The food, the Chinese food that doesn't allow me to get back my six-pack that I lost many years ago since I've been here. Because of the love for all these, I didn't even have to push too hard. I just keep learning, and I keep, everywhere I go, I challenge myself. I walk into situations where I know I'll be helpless. Nobody will help me. Nobody could understand a word here. I will force myself. I will go into places from the beginning, from my very first day in this country. I just hit the streets. I like walking the streets. Hit the streets, walking, meeting people, saying some stuff, talking to most young people are more receptive. They are more friendly. They are more open to be like, oh wow, I want to talk to you. Then if they don't speak English, they'll keep trying to talk to you in English. You keep trying to understand them in Chinese, and then this way the interaction will go. And then I also like talking to old people, not really old, but the older the better. Let's say over 60. In this way, they can't understand no English at all. So I'm forced to like keep listening until I understand what they're saying. But most people who live in China, most foreigners who cannot understand Chinese, who who don't speak Chinese, hanging around people who speak the language they understand, either English or their local language where they come from, and they all day, every day, you know, they hang around the same people all the time. And they, even if they venture out of that circle, they go to meet people, Chinese people who could speak English. If Chinese people can be in China and learn English and never stepped foot out of the territory of China, and they could learn English here, it's kind of a shame that you're going to be in China and live for over 5 years, 6 years, and you can't even understand basic Chinese. You can't even go to buy something without calling someone. It's a big shame. I would call it basic survival skill. If you're going to live in a country, any country at all, just like in the United States, a lot of people come from other countries and they live in the US for 5, 6 years and they still cannot speak English. That's terrible. It's terrible. You gotta move out of your comfort zone and push yourself to learn, push yourself to get yourself in situations where you wouldn't need anybody to, you wouldn't have anybody to help you, be forced to. You're going to learn one thing, that any single day you step out of your comfort zone, get into a place where the local people speak only their language, and you, whether it's in China or you're in the US trying to learn English, or you're in Germany trying to learn German, you're in Holland trying to learn Dutch, you're in France trying to learn French, or you're in Spain trying to learn Spanish, or you're in Portugal, South America, Brazil, somewhere trying to learn Portuguese. You push yourself out of your comfort zone, go to meet people who do not understand a word you're saying in whatever language you speak. Force yourself, spend at least 2-3 hours every single day. Any day you spend 2-3 hours out of your comfort zone speaking to people in that language of that country where you are, you will pick up one word a day. You pick it up, you master that word. The next time someone says that word, you get it. Every single day you get one word. In 30 days, it's 30 words. In 365 days, it's 365 words. And there you go. That's how you learn a language. Anyway, guys, that'll be it today for my video, and I wish you all good luck in whatever language you want to learn, whatever thing you want to learn. If you like this video, subscribe, and let's grow this channel together. Peace.